This week, we're talking about Arizona State. Now, Arizona State, listen, last year, personally to me, I thought they had a bit of a disappointing year. Yes, Zahid Valencia, of course, won his national title, second national title. So, yeah, he crushed it. He had a dominant year. He had 2 losses on the year. But as far as Arizona State as a whole, okay, so they had 4 national qualifiers last year. They had 3 placers, 2 returning placers, and they had 4 graduates that are leaving their team. So that's a bit of a disappointment, but they have a lot of good guys coming in. Now, why I say it was a disappointment, they were 6-10 last year. Not the best record. They had losses to Penn State, to UNC, to Ohio State, Michigan. Now, they did have wins against Oklahoma, South Dakota State, CSU, Bakersfield, as well as Cal Poly. So they had a couple upsetting losses, but some solid wins. But I think that they're just going to go uphill. And in a lot of these videos, I like to focus on the uphill of each of these programs. Regardless of whether I'm a personal fan of the program or not, I like to focus on the positives and looking at what's going on. So Arizona State this past year was voted the number 2 recruiting class out of every team in the Division I programs. Arizona State was the number 2 recruiting class, and it shows, okay? Voted number 2 by FloWrestling, it shows. So they have 5 guys in the top 100 and 2 in the top 10. I believe it's actually like 2 in the top 7, but like 2 in the top 10. So they are looking strong. Now let's get into this. So at 125 pounds, 3 guys here that are looking to make the lineup. First guy is Julian Chlebove. Chlebove is a true freshman coming in, the number 7 recruit, like I said, number 7 recruit coming out of Northampton, Pennsylvania. He's a 3-time state champion, was 129-6 overall in his high school career, and is coming in hot, looking for, he's looking for a national title. All these guys are looking for a national title. Now, the only reason he didn't have 4 state titles is because there were some off the mat complications. I don't really want to get into all that, but there were some off the mat complications where he actually had to miss his junior year. So this is one of the best guys that's looking to make their team. So as a true freshman, he's escaped the Rock champion, a Beast of the East placer, and is number 5 overall at 132 pounds this past year. Another guy at 125 pounds is who's ranked number 2 in the Pac-12 right now, is Brandon Courtney, who's a sophomore. Now, of course, ASU's losing Ryan Milhoff, who was one of the top guys in the country, 2nd at Pac-12. Now they're losing him. He's a graduate. They have Brandon Courtney now, who was 14-1 last year, picked up a couple wins at Midlands, and he actually had a close. One thing that I've noticed that Arizona State has is a couple of guys who have close matches or wins even over some of these top guys where you may not have even heard a lot of these guys. So Courtney had a 2-1 loss to Ronnie Bresser in the duel last year. So he's looking good to possibly make the lineup. Another guy is Cleveland Belton, who is a true freshman, a 2-time state champion from St. John Bosco. And if you know St. John Bosco, you know that the Valencias are from St. John Bosco. So Belton's another one, true freshman coming in. Now, who do I think is going to make the lineup at 125? Well, I have to go with Courtney as a sophomore. I think these other 2 guys, Chlebove and Belton, are going to probably redshirt. You could see Chlebove coming out towards the end of the year, similar to like a Spencer Lee or a Mark Hall type of situation where they redshirted at the beginning, came out at the end. We'll see how Arizona State plays that off, especially depending on who you see take Olympic redshirt years. You could see Chlebove stepping up. But right now I have Courtney at 133 pounds. Real quick, Chlebove could be jumping up to 133, wrestled 32 in high school, so you could see him at either of those weights. You also have the guy who's ranked number 2 in the Pac-12 right now by FloWrestling, and Joshua Kramer, who is a senior at ASU. He's 7-6. He picked up a win at Reno TOC last year, and he actually lost to another one of these guys at the Bison Open, which he ended up taking 2nd place at. Now, the guy he lost to was Josiah Klein. Yes, another Josiah. Josiah Klein who's a junior. Klein he was the starter last year. He was 4th at the Pac-12. He's 20-13. He ended up placing 4th at Midlands. Nothing to joke about. 4th at Midlands. And he's the guy who beat Kramer and ended up winning the Bison Open. Now, you could see Klein potentially taking a red shirt. I don't know what his thoughts are about that, but you could see him taking a red shirt. I don't believe he's taken one yet. And then the other guy you have at the weight is Adam Busciello, who you may know as one of the top guys out of New York. 5-time state champion. What are he, like three or four guys who's a 5-time state champion out of New York, and is the only New York wrestler to make all 6 state finals, because New York, a couple of these states, they're able to wrestle in when they're younger in the high school state championships, unlike states, like PA, which you can only wrestle 4 times. So Busciello wrestled at Beat the Streets last year. He was originally committed to Penn State, ended up decommitting, and then going to Arizona State. He's a number 44 recruit overall. Who do I think is going to make this weight? Well, I'd like to say Josh Kramer, because then there'd be 3 Joshes in the lineup, which, just kind of funny. I think there's like 4 of these guys that I'm talking about. All the names start with J, just random stat out there. But I think that Klein is going to make this lineup, mostly because he beat Kramer last year at the Bison Open. So you could see that wrestle-off happening, and Klein ended up taking that spot. At 141, 4 guys here again. Busciello is one of them. You could see him jumping up to 141. But you also have Nick Ramo, who's a number 58 recruit overall, true freshman coming in from Hanover Park, New Jersey. He was number 7 at 132 pounds, and he is a state champ out of New Jersey. You also have Corey Crooks, who's a returning starter and a junior. He placed 4th at the Pac-12s. He's 13-18 last year, and he picked up a couple wins at Midlands. The 4th guy here is Navante Demison, who is a redshirt freshman. Last year, I guess, was kind of an adjustment year for him, and he's looking to make that lineup spot. But I think that Corey Crooks is going to end up making that lineup again at 141. At 149, 2 guys here. You got Alex Hart here, who's a redshirt freshman, but really who I think is going to make the lineup is Josh Maruca. He made the lineup last year. He's going to make the lineup again this year at 149. He's ranked number 2 in the Pac-12 right now, behind Merriway of Stanford. He had a couple losses to him in the past, which is what puts him behind him, but he's looking to, beat him this year. Now, Maruca was 2nd at Pac-12s last year. He's 1-2 at Nationals, so not exactly how he wanted to go out, but I personally see him doing better this year in his senior year. I see him picking up a couple more wins, and really I see Maruca becoming an All-American. Whether or not it's at that top spot or not, I don't know. Last year, though, his best win was over Gefeller at Nationals. That was his one win, so I see him doing really well, especially with, with Arizona State having a solid team. I see him playing a instrumental part in that. At 157, really one guy here now that Pagdillo is that he's graduated. He was the starter here last year. Pagdillo was 7th at Nationals, so he is an All-American that ASU is losing, which is unfortunate. But the number 1 guy ranked in the Pac-12 right now at 157 pounds is a redshirt freshman in Ja'Cory Teamer. And it makes sense why. Now, it makes sense why, because he is the other 5-time New York State champion, along with Busciello, but Teamer is the other 5-time New York State champion. He was 10-2 in his redshirt year. Like I said, he's a redshirt freshman. 10-2 last year with a winner over Justin McCoy of Virginia, was one of the top-ranked guys, and a big win over Sammy Sasso at Midlands. Now, maybe that means something to some of you, maybe not, but Sammy Sasso is easily one of the top title contenders this upcoming year, and he's looking to make an impact. He is from Ohio State, wrestling at Ohio State. Now, Teamer is looking to make an impact, and that's why I have him at 157 pounds. At 165, two guys here, Cohlton Wellham, who's a sophomore, but really who I think is going to make the lineup again is Josh Shields, number 1 at the Pac-12. He is a returning All-American for ASU, Pac-12 champ, 6 at the national tournament. He actually made it to the semifinals, ended up wrestling Vincenzo Joseph, 2 Whippeal guys, 2 PA guys. End up losing to Joseph by a close score. I think it was 3-2. 3-2 was a score. So a very close score in the semis. You're going to see Shields make some noise again, make some waves again throughout the season and at the national tournament. You know, he's going to have some tough competition. He was 31-6 last year, and a few of those losses came at nationals. He did the semi slide, made it to semis, ended up taking 6th. He's going to have Chenzo. He's going to have Marinelli. He's going to have Micaiah Lewis. So, you know, tough guys, but I still see him becoming an All-American a little bit higher this year. Definitely a high All-American in Josh Shields at 165. Moving up to 174 is a Valencia. However, it is not Zahid. Zahid is moving up to 184. So who is the other Valencia? Well, it's his brother, Anthony Valencia. Anthony Valencia, also from St. John Bosco, is a redshirt junior. Last year, he took a redshirt year. It was actually a medical redshirt year. He was injured. He was 3-1 before the injury. Now, he was 27-10 the year before that. I go back. A lot of these other guys that don't go back a year before that, but with guys that are, you know, medical red shirts or red shirts, I like to do that a little bit just to see the competition that they wrestled throughout the season. So he was 27-10 the year before that. He was a Midlands and Cliff Key Las Vegas placer, so he's a tough guy. And my question is, are we going to see more Valencia versus Hall? Now, not Zahid, but Anthony. Now, he's number 1 at the Pac-12. The other guy you have at 174 is Trey Muniz, a true freshman coming in. Number 35 recruit overall from Trabuco Hills, California, and number 7 at 174. Now, out of these two, I have to give it to Anthony Valencia. He's going to come in, and I think he can definitely be an All-American. And we're going to see some tough matches between him, Kemmer, Amin, Labriola, and Mark Hall. And I can't wait to see it all go down. Now, like I said, the other Valencia is at 184 pounds in Zahid, Arizona State's returning 2-time national champion. Now, Zahid, of course, is leading this team and going to show up big this year. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to get the Mark Hall versus Zahid Valencia matches that we all want to see go down again. At least I personally do. Now, you have Jason Peterson, who used to wrestle at 184, graduated. Now you got Zahid. Now, of course, you know, Pac-12 champ, 2-time national champion. He had losses last year. He was 31-2, had a loss to Mark Hall and Daniel Lewis of Missouri. Ended up avenging both of those losses at the national tournament, and, you know, a true, I guess, comeback story. He wrestled very, very well. Now, interestingly enough, he only has 3 total losses in his college career. 2 of those from Mark Hall, 1 from Daniel Lewis. He had a couple like in his redshirt year, but how is he going to look at 184? Well, you got Shakur Rashid of Penn State. You have Taylor Venge. You have Cash Wilkie. I think Zahid's taking this weight. I really do. I don't see a lot of competition for him here. He's just honestly going to go out there and take home his 3rd national title. And that's why I got to give him the lineup spot at 184. At 197, 2 guys here. Cade Belche, redshirt sophomore, who wrestled 184 last year, so he's moving up, and he was 6-4. You also have number 3 in the Pac-12, Cordell Norfleet, who won the Bison Open. He was 8-2, and he actually pinned Ethan Smith, who is Ohio State's wrestling for Ohio State. And I have to give this spot to Norfleet, who's, you know, he's ranked in the Pac-12. Got to give it to him at 197. At 285, you have a pretty stacked weight. I would, you know, there are a couple lightweights that are pretty stacked too as far as depth for Arizona State, but 285 heavyweight is definitely one of the most stacked weights. And three guys here. So first of all, you have an incoming freshman, true freshman in Cohlton Schultz, who, if you don't know, he's the number 2 recruit overall. He's number 1 heavyweight in the country, only behind, or he's going back and forth between Greg Kirkfleet, who's wrestling at Ohio State. So you're going to see some tough matches between those two guys, which is pretty exciting. He wrestled at Ponderosa High School. He's a Greco World Team member, World Team Champ, actually, at the cadet level, a 4-time state champ, a Reno Tournament of Champions champion in high school, of course, not the college level. And he's going to be competing over these next couple of years. Now, who else is at this weight? Well, you have the returner from Arizona State, Brady Daniel, who placed 3rd at the Pac-12s. He was 12-19 last year, went 3-2 at Midlands, and he actually lost to the guy who I think is most likely going to take the weight this year in Tanner Hall. Tanner Hall is ranked number 1 in the Pac-12 currently by FloWrestling. He is a redshirt senior. Now, he redshirted last year. He's a 2-time Midlands champion. At Bison Open, he took 2nd, and actually, I believe he won that in the past. He was 7-1. No, he took 2nd last year at the Bison Open because he lost to this guy in Gable Steveson. So Gable Steveson is who beat Tanner Hall. But guess what? Don't say like, okay, Steveson beats everybody. He lost to him in sudden victory by a score of 2-1. Or no, it's 3-1. 3-1. In sudden victory, Tanner Hall lost to him. So this is another one of Arizona State's guys that's right there. And you could see Hall All-Americaning this upcoming year. So I think Arizona State overall has a very solid team. Is looking for a great podium run. Last year, they finished in the top 15 around like Virginia Tech, Lehigh, around those type of schools. But I see them, placing in the top 10 this year. I really do. I think they have a lot of All-American potential, a couple of national title contenders, and I think Arizona State's going to look very solid. If you haven't already, make sure you check out the other wrestling lineup previews for the 2019-2020 season.